Yesterday in Chicago, the Cubs clinched. Doug Coletta ran the quickest ever in the history of the sport, and Whit Basemore took his second straight pole, leaving Tony Pedregon standing on his heels. The worldwide leader in sports, presents exclusive coverage of the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today, from Route 66 Raceway in Joliet, Illinois, it is final elimination to the third running of the CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals. Hello again, everybody. Marty Reed along with Mike Dunn. The overcast skies, we've got a 50-50 chance of some rain, and it is chilly. You see everybody bundled up, 53 degrees. Track temperature only 63 degrees. And we are expecting some very fast times. And as we take a look at the ladder, we can tell you that Doug Coletta has a chance to back up that national record at 4:42. Over on the other side, Corey McClenathan can back up his 4:46. We'll get into the numbers, but first, let's take a look at Tony. Tony Schumacher's huge crash on Friday in Memphis totaled the primary dragster, but the team rebounded nicely. They brought out the backup, qualified third, took care of business on Monday. Schumacher beat Big Dog's Doug Coletta and Larry Dixon en route to his second straight win and third of the year. The winner in Joliet this spring hopes to continue the momentum today. And you can take a look at back in the first race here in June. He qualified number one. There was his performance on race day. Only the one little blip. Still managed to get past John Smith on that one. He's the first pair out today as the number 8 qualifier because his performance in the 2 qualifying sessions not up to snuff like some of the other guys this weekend.
Well, you're right, Marty, and like you said, the key word was 2 qualifying sessions. Losing that Friday session definitely hurt some of the teams, mainly both of these teams. I mean, Tony Schumacher was able to run a 4:55. Scott Coletta ran a 4:57, but both cars had trouble on their runs. Both spun the tires. Tony actually had an engine explosion on the final session, was on a very good run. Ran on 1 mag on the first session. Scott spun the tires in the middle, so this is going to be anybody's race.
We had 11 cars in top fuel qualify at 4:58 or better. That's how good the performance really was. Tony's in trouble. Scott's in trouble. Here comes Tony. Oh, what a driving job. That one goes to the driver. 6:03 to a 6:57. When you look at the numbers, you'll say, oh, that's so ugly. But right now, the driver saved that man's bacon.
Wow, that was amazing. I mean, Tony Schumacher smoked tires as soon as he hit the throttle. He had the presence of mind to see that Scott Coletta was in trouble. Got back on it. The car recovered. And when it did, it started screaming right there. 233 miles an hour at the 8. Scott Coletta, he was only running 150 miles per hour, and he went screaming on by. Boy, what a great driving job by Tony Schumacher.
Take a look at the reaction. Alan Johnson says, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Dave Reef.
Well, Marty, you guys already alluded to it. Today could be all about the record. 4.474 seconds is the national lapse time record set by Kenny Bernstein at this very racetrack. But by day's end, count on it being history, courtesy of Doug Coletta, who ran the quickest elapsed time in NHRA history yesterday at 4.428 seconds. Are you serious? Unbelievable stuff indeed. And then there's another guy who could possibly set the record today, and that man is Corey McClenathan into the 40s for the first time ever in his career at 4.463 seconds. That's the second fastest ever. That is why all eyes will be on these guys when they hit the water box today.
And right now, Dave, all eyes are on Pink Ladies. Shirley Muldowney and John Smith in the Prestone top fueler. More on these two, but first let's check in with Bill Stevens.
All we talked about during NHRA today with a great condition, super racetrack, and the first pair of top fuel cars down there just come completely loose, but you saved it.
Well, you gotta be ready for that. We had ignition problems yesterday, which throws a curveball in the whole tune-up. You don't know what to do on the Sunday morning on race day. Alan stepped it up. Obviously, the thing's making power because they blew it off of the hit. The key is here: you never give up. You never give up at all, man. It's a long racetrack. He was going up in smoke, and we got around him. But for the Army team, Atco Tools, Gates, Belts, Hoses, all the Chicago fans, our home track, second round, man. Beautiful.
That is the first time in 13 runs in elimination that car has smoked its tires.
Back at the starting line now, you see John Smith's numbers as John and Shirley have met only once in their careers. That was back at Indy in 2002. Shirley won that one. And boy, how frustrating. She runs a career best, 4:57. That's only good enough for the number 10 spot, Mike.
Well, I tell you, the conditions were just excellent yesterday, and she came back and tried to step it up in the later section yesterday and spun the tires. John looked very good, 4:63, then came back and ran a 4:54. That car makes very good numbers early in the run. They need to get it to the other end, but they're going to be concerned about those conditions, watching those guys smoke the tires ahead of them.
Shirley does it again. She's 2-0 against John. She runs a 4:57 with an 8. So Shirley backs it up. In fact, that's 1/1000th quicker than her career best of yesterday, and she moves into the second round. Hello again, everybody. Glad that you're with us. So we've seen a pair overpower the track. Now we've seen a pair really light it up. I think we're both holding our breath today, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely are holding our breath, and it hasn't really showed us what the track's going to hold, because like you said, I mean, both Scott Coletta and Tony struggled in qualifying and was able to come out there and make the horsepower. Didn't really have an idea what the track or their setups were like. Shirley went back there, probably set it up the same way, master qualifying run, made a nice run down the racetrack, but we still got a lot of racing to go.
And as you take a look at the run, let's check in with Parker Johnstone.
Marty, for the first time in his career, Whit Bazemore sits atop the Funny Car Championship point standings. So I thought it appropriate to spend the day with the team. And so that we could all gain some insight, we've put a microphone on engine specialist Ryan Pethnel. We'll be checking in with Ryan during our crew chatter segment. But, Marty, the big news for this camp is the weather conditions are perfect for this team. Lee Beard is a racer. He doesn't want to slink his way down a hot racetrack. He wants to throw everything at this car and go for records and maintain and extend their championship points lead.
Down here with Scott Coletta, out of a race car for a couple of years. Scott, you got to pedal it. Did the layoff hurt you at all, trying to get control of the car?
No, that didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, these cars, obviously, with what Doug's car ran, they're such animals. I mean, tried as best I could. And I think I pedaled it 4 or 5 times. And finally, the belt said, nope, see ya. So, finally get to get down here and actually talk on TV and say hi to John Aiden and Jesse. Mac Tools wouldn't be here without him.
All right, Scott.
And you better believe they'll be checking the data as quickly as they can, if they can, to make any adjustment on Cousin Doug's car. Now, Paul Romine going up against Jim Head. He's never beaten Head in his career. Head said yesterday after he ran a 4:53, man, that was scary. Let's get more at the top end with Shirley and Bill.
You can see that Shirley's crew already towing the car back. They're very frenzied here to get this thing ready for the next round, but you're not going to want to retire. You just went quicker than yesterday by 1,000. Another 4:57, Cheryl.
It actually felt faster. The mile an hour felt a little better than yesterday, but I think it just moved around, the front end moved around just a little bit. But I won't miss that 75-minute rule between rounds.
Yeah, we got to get her a ride back to the pits.
We'll get her a limousine if she needs it. This one belongs to Romine, 460. You saw the blower belt flying into the air, and the puff of smoke at the far end, 295 miles an hour, but he will advance. Larry Dixon, Darrell Russell, when we come back. If you happen to be new to our sport, as you looked over the skyline of Chicago, let's talk a little Top Fuel. And show you what the specs are all about.
Well, let's talk about how quick these cars accelerate the first eighth of a mile. Top fuel drags you in 60 feet, just over 0.8 of a second, be running almost 100 miles per hour, and 330 feet, just over 2 seconds, and then at 660 feet, or the 8th mile, just over 3 seconds and over 275 miles per hour. In the case of Doug Coletta, he went over 281 miles per hour at the 8th yesterday.
You're looking at David Baca. He has had a couple of great weekends. 2 poles back-to-back. He'll be alongside of Rhonda Hartman-Smith. Rhonda, if she can manage to go to the semifinals, could push her way into 8th place in the championship chase. That's the highest she would ever be, bumping Doug Herbert down. Doug did not qualify for today's final eliminations.
And Rhonda had a great 60-foot time yesterday in that second session, then went into a wheel stand. If she can keep that thing down, that thing was on a good pass. She might have a chance to get around David Baca, but he's been running awfully well.
Rhonda's got him. A 4:52 at 319 miles an hour. And Rhonda is moving on to second round. Dave Reef.
Down with John Stewart already, the 4:46 on the board for Corey McLenithan. It's got to be hard to tame that beast inside that stares at 20 extra record points.
Yeah, you know, the 20 extra points are nice, but right now we're going to try and go out and win the race. So we're gonna do what we need to win round by round. And if we're there in the finals, then we may go for the record. But until then, we just need to win rounds.
I'll tell you what, though, it may take a 450, which could back that record up to do it, you know. It's that kind of conditions out here, Mike. You need to run good.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And we just saw Rhonda run the 4:52. Great run. I think she just got all together from that run she was going to make yesterday when she wheel stood it.
Well, it is a career best. As you look into the eyes of Larry Dixon, he will be next up alongside of Darrell Russell. So he's already seen some good performances. And let's get a little more Larry Dixon.
Hi, I'm Larry Dixon. I grew up in Southern California, but I live in Indianapolis now with my bride Allison and my 2 kids. When I'm away from the racetrack, I got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and it seems like I spend most of my time trying to help change diapers. Yeah! Ever since I was 3 or 4 years old, all I ever wanted to do was drive a top fuel car. Now it seems like I'm doing it and I'm living the dream.
For Larry Dixon, you can see the points lead right now at 283 over Doug Coletta. Tony Schumacher, after qualifying, has moved ahead of Darrell Russell by 1. So a big round here for Darrell. He's got to keep pace because Tony has already won here in first round. More on this matchup. Let's first check in with Bill.
When we were here in the spring, Rhonda Hartman-Smith went 4:56 to become the quickest woman officially, and you just trimmed it by 400 to 4:52.
It's awesome. I knew this team had it. You know, we just said we got to take the money and run. The Steve Miller Band supporting us this weekend, Chicago Max Sales and Fram and everybody. And, you know, we wanted to perform good here because we always ran our best. And it's awesome that we're going to round 2.
Yesterday on that wheel stand run, she had an 8:22 short time. It's phenomenal. Parker?
Bill, one of the concerns for the crew chiefs today is the cool track temperatures combined with the wind. When I asked Whitbait Sports crew chief Lee Beard about it, he said, hey, it's not too cold until ice crystals start to form. As long as these cars continue to run successfully down the racetrack, it'll put heat into the track. The wind's a factor because it tends to cool the surface. But it is cold. Dave and I just saw flocks of Canada geese going overhead, headed south.
It's easy for Beard to say, too. He's not the one strapped into the cockpit. For Larry Dixon, he has met Darrell Russell 6 times this year. He's won 5 of them, including their last time up the semifinals at Memphis. Oh, Larry struggles down the track in a 495, and I thought I heard a pop in that motor. You saw the problems immediately. Let's take a look.
Watch the butterflies. He's going to backpedal it here as it goes into tire shake. Right there, gets out of it, gets back in, lifts the front end. At this point, it's run pretty good. He's still feathering the throttle a little bit, trying to make sure that thing's hooked up, then starts putting cylinders out. And then you're right, Marty, right before the finish, a little backfire, but he got the win.
Coming up, Corey McLenithan has a chance to set the national record. Will he do it? Come back and find out. Let's go back to Larry Dixon's pass one more time.
Yeah, and watch the body panels on here when he backs out of the throttle. That's chassis underneath there. It's just like a spring. When he gets out of it and gets back on, just unloads it and gets that chassis just flexing. Then you see it down there bouncing on the other end. It starts putting some cylinders out as he traverses over those bumps. Boy, and look at the panels really flex right there. But That's what the chassis is supposed to do, and the air's pushing that thing down. And luckily for him, he got the win.
We're getting ready for Kenny Bernstein and David Grubnick, but first, let's check in with Bill.
I'm with the master of runaway excitement, Larry Dixon. A lot happened on that one. Want to walk us through it?
It didn't take too long. I mean, it just guy went out there and rattled a tire, and you're kind of waiting for it to clear up. This is normally our car does. And it just, you know, got him loose, and then you're in and out, trying to get her down the track better than the next guy. You don't know where he's at, so you're just on the gas. And it's like leading a lamb to slaughter. You hope you don't blow the thing up. And, you know, fortunately we didn't. Saw the wind light, and, you know, we're in the next round. I guess that's what counts right now.
You got it, Parker.
Yeah, just checked in with Lee Beard. What they're seeing from the top fuel cars has resulted in some changes back in the staging lanes. They backed the car up just a little bit, which is not what Lee Beard wanted to do. He wanted to go for it, but they may make some more changes with these successive runs.
And just as you finish up, Kenny Bernstein goes 4:53. 329 miles an hour. So the man who still holds the national official record at 4:47 is into the second round.
Wow, this is a great run. Really the first good run we've seen in that left-hand lane. Kenny Bernstein navigates it perfectly right down the middle of the racetrack. 271 miles per hour at the 8th mile. I think it's just exactly what Tim Richards was looking for, and just a great job by them.
Take one more look as you get a chance to watch Kenny Bernstein, hot, straight, and normal. Now you're looking at a man who has a chance to set a new national record. There's the numbers. He has to run 4:51 or quicker to back up the 4:46 that he ran earlier. Another guy of 9 who has run a career best this weekend is over in the other lane, Luigi Novelli, a 4:66. He's really going to have to step it up to keep up with Corey here. Dave Reef.
Right before Corey Mack went 4:46 in the first session yesterday, he went 4:57, and that's exactly what John Stewart says he has in this car right now. He feels with the better air conditions right now that will bring that 4:57 down to a low 4:53. He also told me one other thing of interest that I don't know much about, but Mike Gunn, I know you do. He said he changed pressure plates for this run because of this record-setting run, or the one that could back it up. Probably not going to happen right here.
Yeah, I mean, the conditions, I mean, what he's seeing in front of him, I would be very surprised if they go for the record. I think it's a good strategy. Just go for another 4:53, get the round win, look at the conditions, and maybe go for the record in the later rounds if you think it'll handle it.
Goes 4:54, 323 miles an hour. His wife likes it. It will not back up the national record, but a good, solid, strong first round win for Corey McLenithan. Take one more look. So Corey Mack has had his first shot. Doug will get his when we come back to Joliet. And as we wait for Doug Coletta to bring the 8,000 horsepower to life, let's go to the far end to Bill.
You're still the king of speed. 329, Kenny. Top speed of the round so far, and a 453 tacked onto it.
Well, I appreciate it. Good job by the Bud boys and Lucas Oil. We appreciate it. Obviously, they're going to go quicker. This is wonderful conditions. Fans are getting something today, let me tell you, especially people on TV. This is something to watch.
Yeah, I know we've enjoyed it so far.
We certainly have, and now we're going to hold our breath again. Doug has to do even quicker. 4:47 to back up that 4:42. Let's talk to Corey Mack. He's with Bill.
Corey Mack, we're talking a lot about records today. A 4:54 didn't back it up, but will a 4:54 win this race today?
No, definitely not. Well, we're trying to be strategic about this. We're trying to go out and go rounds. We've had a tough time being consistent with this race car lately. We want to go 54. That was what we wanted for the first round. Come the final round, we may have to throw the whole trailer at it, but that's our plan.
Look out.
Right now, Rhonda Hartman is low for the round with her career best 4:52.
Yeah, but I think Corey did a great strategy. Go out there, like they said, try to run a 4:53, and they pretty much nailed it with a 4:54. That's a great run. You know, Connie Collette, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does. He likes to go for it no matter what the conditions are, but he's been racing a lot smarter. He's got to get down the racetrack. I don't think he's looking at the record, but you never know what can happen with that Mack Tools top fuel dragster.
4:51, 331 and a half. So Doug Kalita does not back up the national record, but boy, he has got that Mac Tools top fueler just on a rail, and it is flying. Lane choice is going to go to Kalita over Schumacher, Rhonda over Larry Dixon. Over on the other side, Corey Mack over Shirley, and Kenny Bernstein over Paul Romine. What about the battle between Tony Pedregon and Whit Bazemore? Well, it's going to continue. Funny car when we come back. Back here at the CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals at Route 66 Raceway, we're getting ready for Gary Scelzi and Cruz Pedregon, round one of eliminations. But before we talk more about these two, let's meet with John Force. He's with Bill at the far end.
Not a perfect run, but we remember what he did to you in the spring here.
Alan Lawson, he whooped me, but he got me a lot of ink out of it. The way I'm running, I could use some ink, but, you know, bottom line out there, you kind of watch your opponent. You don't really know what's going on when it's this cold. Is it shaking because it's weak? Is it shaking because it's fast? And Baze's car, they said rattled, and drivers just got to make a decision. It's kind of a guess, and mine rattled. It went through it, and that's what I was yelling back to Tony, but drivers got to do their own thing. Local guy gets all the eyes.
For 13 years, he's been making the right guesses out there.
Thanks, Bill. Let's show you the funny car specs and incrementals.
Well, let's talk about the acceleration. The funny cars are a little bit heavier, about 200 to 300 pounds. They don't run quite as quick, but still 0.88 seconds, about 0.04 of a second slower in 60 feet, but they're still running close to 100 miles per hour in 330 in just over 2.25 seconds. And then at the 660 at 3.3 seconds on average, they're running over 260 miles per hour on a good run.
It is definitely an E-ticket ride. Cruz Pedregon and Gary Scelzi have met once so far this year. Scelzi took Cruz out in round one back at Columbus. You see the numbers right there as Gary, the number 4 qualifier.
And Gary Scelzi looked good. He smoked the tires in his first qualifying session, then came back and ran that great 475.
Wow, he took a chunk of the tree.
Scelzi goes 476. That makes Don Schumacher happy. 328 miles an hour. Cruz had a 480, and that was a very good run for Cruz as well.
This was a great side-by-side race, Marty. Both drivers basically had the same reaction time, but like you said, Dean, Gary took a pretty good chunk out of the tree. Cruz took a decent one, too, but look at the incrementals there. Cruz was ahead off the start just by 0.02 of a second, a little bit ahead in 60 feet, and then it was Gary Scelzi coming on by for the win, and there was a margin of victory right at the finish line.
Well, and let's also talk about the speed. Looking at 328.70, that's now the fastest ever.
That is unbelievable. I mean, this is the unpredictable conditions that I wish I was out there racing, because not just upsets, not just record performances, but you don't know what the heck is going to happen, you know?
Let's go to Dave Reef.
Down with Corey Lee. Dean Scusa just called you the hungriest man in NHRA drag racing, and you have just made a major impact on the points race.
Yeah, it's a grand opportunity I have here with Arnie being out. Got a great crew and a great car and a great ownership team here. And you know what? They gave me a chance to win, and I'm taking the opportunities. Right then, I just terminated Whit.
Car was chewing itself up a bit.
Yeah, it went out there, and it actually vibrated on me. I think it dropped the cylinder, and then it shot the head gasket out, burned the cylinder head off the thing. I had some fire on the dash, but, you know, when you're racing, you got to go to the finish line, and that's what I did. As soon as I lifted off, the fire went out, so it's all good right now.
All 3 of the Del Worsham cars into round number 2. Over to Parker.
Dave, down in the pits of Shirley Muldowney, you can see crew chief Ron Tobler just working on the magnetos and the short block of the engine that just came out. They spun a main bearing on that second round, they were the second pair in eliminations during that first round, and as you can see, going out early has given them the opportunity to get this car turned around very, very quickly. New engine blocks in, intake manifold, supercharger, clutch has been installed. Now just lashing the valves, putting the final touches on the clutch adjustment before they get ready to warm this up and head to the second round. Bill?
With Gary Scelzi, you know, a lot of talk today about maybe the first 460s pass in funny car, but you are dangerously close to 330 miles an hour, my friend.
Well, I stole a lot from the starting line, believe me. I was to take no more chances. Going in thin, everybody's saying I'm getting drilled on the starting line. I stole it just like all these thieving funny car guys do. Oakley Dodge is a bad Jose. My man Mike Neff is not shy. Gates, Belts, everybody, Macco, we love you. But I went in there to stage this thing, and I closed the visor, and the air quit. It started to fog up. And in the drag strip, it did that. I'd open the visor a little bit, but you can't do that because of the clutch dust. So I said, damn it, just pay attention. So I don't know if I was late early or whatever the hell happened, but we got by it. So we're going to the second round.
Man, everybody's touching you. They love you.
All right, now, as we get back to the starting line, let's take a look at what happened to Tony in qualifying as he went airborne.
Well, Marty, that's when you're trying to apply all the clutch. They put a little bit more fuel in, makes horsepower, and it went to the air. Now, we saw Rhonda Hartman do the same thing in qualifying yesterday, and she came back and ran a 4.52 in the first round. So if they can do the same thing, obviously they're not going to run 4.52, but they can step up and run a good number. That'll do a lot to help their championship hopes.
I bet you Tony's heart is beating at an enormous rate right now. Witt is out. This is it, man. You got to take advantage of this. And I've never been involved in a championship run. I can only imagine what he's feeling right now.
As these guys come to the line, we should point out that Gary Scelzi's speed record needs a backup. He has to go at least 325 and change. We'll give you more on that later. Right now, the drama is building. As Dean mentioned, the heart is in the throat of every team member for Team Force. Right now, they can retake the points lead with a win over Bob Bodie, and this is Bodie's home track.
And you saw Hogan over there. This car is no slouch, man. It runs with the best of them. It's going to be a good race.
Looking at the points leader again, 484, 312 miles an hour. It'll be a long shot from low for the round, but now he leads by 9.
Yeah, let's watch Tony. He kind of does the same thing. The car starts to move over towards the wall, but he's able to reel the thing back in before it starts to get too much tire spin. Right at that point there, then you see him. He gets the car back over, and right there, back in the groove. And luckily, it didn't start spinning the tires. He was able to get the win.
We've got to take commercial break. Tommy Johnson and Ron Capps, that's right. Don Perdome's guys go head-to-head when we come back.
The action continues at the CarQuest Nationals from Joliet, Illinois, down to the 12-time champion pits of John Force, where his crew is getting ready for second round of elimination. You can see Supercharger has yet to come off, but the clutch is out. That's Eric Medlin, son of John Medlin. Crew chief on Tony Pendergain's car, getting ready to service that unit and turn around. The rest of the guys will all have this car turn around in about 42 minutes, well inside that 75-minute turnaround time. Let's go up to Bill Stevens at the far end.
Well, Tony Pendergain, she was gagging a little bit. It was crude but effective. You won.
Well, it felt kind of light. It was way out of the groove. I'm surprised it stuck, but Ford gives us the downforce. Goodyear gives us a good tire to run on, and looks like we caught a little bit of a break, but, you know, I know Medlin, he hate to key off the cars in front of you, but he probably pulled it back a little bit just to play it safe. And what matters to us is that we go another round, and believe me, we can use it at this point.
Yeah, and remember now, they're not counting points.
Oh, no, they never do. They count from the day we open at Pomona. All right, let's talk about TJ and Ron Capps. You know, considering these guys are teammates, they really haven't gone head-to-head all that often. They're 1-1 this year against each other.
That's surprising. You know, number 8 and 9 qualifier, they ran some decent runs, and you know, Todd Okahara's crew chief on Ron Capps' car. That car's starting to look pretty good, doing a good job over there. Mike Green and Tommy Johnson's car, they've struggled a little bit. They've kind of been up and down. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's kind of missed it. So, but this is a good matchup.
Yeah, it's the matchup that Don Perdome probably has nightmares about in the first round. You don't want it.
But at least you'll have one car in the second round.
True.
And that car is going to be the Skull Green Camaro of Ron Capps, 487 at 322 miles an hour. Dave Reef.
Work going on in the Doug Kalita camp. The clutch pack back on, the cylinder heads also strapped back on along with the headers. Getting ready to put the supercharger back on top of the quickest and fastest car in NHRA history. Also low ET and top speed for round number 1. But a nice conservative, if you can say, 451 at 331.
Well, after we seen what Scott's car did, it went out there and it pulled the tires loose, and Connie and I talked for about 2 seconds, and then he got lost. I don't know where he went. I think they got good food up here in the suites here at Chicago Speedway, so I went to Plan B and called up Frank Bradley and figured out what we should do, and then Connie came down right before we ran and said run it, so it was okay, I guess.
You spent a lot of time talking to Frank this year.
He's a great guy. I love Frank.
They will try to duplicate their efforts once again in round number 2.
Ron Capps, it has been a long, fatiguing season. How great would it be to go some rounds here in the last few races?
It would be great. Todd Okahara and Phil, they're doing a great job. And all the Skull guys and Lucas, it got out there. We're running TJ, you know, and it's not what we want to do first round, but trying to stay a pinch better than the rest of the guys. And TJ's in the other lane. It left, and it rattled the tires. I thought, oh, boy, no. Then it went into a hard shake. So hard, it shook my foot out of the throttle, and we have a loop. And it shook it out. I just stepped back down, hoping it hit anywhere near the throttle.
it caught and just took off. My foot was so close coming off that loop and coming off the throttle, and it threw me back so hard. I mean, we ran better speed pedaling the car than we usually do. So let me tell you something. It's like going out, stopping the car, and hitting the throttle again from the starting line. What a ride.
So close, he said. He's been a runner-up here in Chicago, but has not won this race.
Dean, same thing you said happened to you.
It sounds just like a carbon copy. I mean, that bump is so bad, and as a driver, it happens like within a millisecond, so you don't know if it's the car shutting off, you don't know if it's, trying to shake the tires. All you know is, like, it's not run.
Gary Dencham makes Team Force 3 for 3. He goes 4.72 with a 3. Can you say low for the round? And also, can you say new track record?
Boy, great run for Gary Dencham. But let's watch Bob Gilbertson here and see if we can see the bump. It seems to be more prevalent. They get it over to the right a little bit, right at the transition. Cars are definitely bouncing the front end a little bit. You can see, boy, look at the vibration there, and that's pretty far down track, and it starts to move over towards the wall a little bit, and there it is. Pretty good bump as you're trying to traverse over there at over 220 miles an hour.
Look at John's reaction. He knows that Gary has just set another career best, and he is going to have lane choice. There's Burkhart and Selzy with the lane choice on the left side. And interesting matchup, Dencham, Tony Pedregon, Team Force. We'll check on team orders. Want to thank, of course, Dean Scusa. Better luck when we see you next week in Reading.
Thanks a lot, guys. Next time I'll dress appropriate.
No, it's okay. It's okay. After what you went through last week at Memphis, you can dress anytime you want and come anytime you want to visit.
Right on.
Let's go to Parker.
Marty, with Gary Dencham's win, there was also a reaction in the John Force Tech Center where the crew chiefs all gave a knowing smile to each other. Inside, crew chief Austin Coyle measures the progress of his car outside while looking at the data from round one. And Austin, take us through that first run and what you're looking at.
Well, it's pretty simple here, Scott and Parker. What did I say? Anyway, this left the starting line, and it moved really hard. Everything was going good. It rattled just a little bit, pretty common on these real cold racetracks. It got over that, and then it went and dropped the cylinder, as fuel cars are like very prone to do at time to time. Been a long time for us, but it did, and then it lost, of course, an eighth of its horsepower. It didn't run very good, but we were lucky enough to get the win.
Changes for next round?
Well, we'll lean that cylinder out so it doesn't drop it again. It'll be fine.
All right, thanks, Parker. Great tour through the Tech Center there and getting the update on the data as you see the work continuing here in Joliet. Oh, we've caught our breath after a great first round of Top Fuel and Funny Car, and it's time for the Factory Hot Rods of Pro Stock. Take a look at the ladder. You can see Greg Anderson again, his 10th pole of the season. He's making it look easy. Although Jack Coughlin's showing some new life in the number 2 spot. Kurt Johnson, of course, still trying to narrow the gap to keep the championship chase alive, but it is slowly getting away from him. Mike Edwards and Darrell Alderman will be first up, and you can see Darrell's numbers right there. He'll be over in the left lane. These guys haven't met yet this year, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, Marty, I think these are probably two of the best natural drivers in Pro Stock. Both very good on the lights. Mike Edwards been really mowing down the tree. Pro Stock very competitive. This should be a good race.
They've met 7 times in their career. Believe it or not, Edwards has won 6 of those. Red light, Edwards. He gives it away. And he throws away a 674, and you saw Alderman just coasting on through, so Darrell dodges a bullet. Let's go to Bill.
Hey, Gary Dencham, when Jimmy Prock tuned for Joe Amato, they called his car the Prock Rocket. I think you've got one now. You've been down this racetrack 3 times this weekend and 472 twice.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Jimmy is amazing. It is a Prock Rocket, and I tell you, if old Gary could hold in the center of the racetrack, we might see a new national record. But I tell you, that thing's fast. Jimmy makes a lot of power, and this old Mustang runs good for Auto Club Southern California. We're just happy to be here.
Had to haul it around out there on that one?
Oh, I tell you, man, I think it's moving around. It moved hard to the left in the middle, come out, then top in. It tried doing the same thing it did yesterday and run over the cones and the lights. But, hey, we got her down here, got the win. We're happy guys.
And we'll see what happens in second round. Right now, Kurt Johnson against Troy Coughlin. And these guys have met 2 times this year. They've each won once.
Kurt only qualified number 10, but he's only 3 thousandths different from number 7 qualifier Troy Coughlin. So still one of those you pick 'em races.
go. Bit of a staging duel going on. Kurt goes in. Almost dead even. Oh, and Kurt goes 6.76 at 2:04 as Troy falls off to a 6.82. And we've got a moment. Let's talk about the incrementals in Pro Stock.
Yeah, in Pro Stock, they're a little bit slower, but let me tell you, for a normally aspirated car, they move pretty quick. 60 feet in just about 1 second. 330 feet is 2.85 seconds. At the 8th mile, or 660 feet, normally about 4.35 seconds, and usually they're running at over 160 miles per hour.
Well, I guarantee you, you climb into a Pro Stock car and launch, it will pin your ears back. Time for Alan Johnson in the right lane, Bruce Allen in the left lane. And Alan Johnson had the lane choice, and he moved over to the right lane. That's interesting. Big advantage for Bruce. And the win line for Bruce as he goes 6.77. So 202 miles an hour. Alan Johnson's plan backfires. Dave Reef.
You are looking at the pride of Schumacher funny car racing. That man is Gary Scelzi, the fastest man in NHRA history, thanks to that 328+ mile an hour pass. Talked with Mike Neff, his crew chief, as you see some of the work going on down here. He says the run was very, very safe. In fact, they're going to go ahead and just set this car up exactly the same. Try to work on their incrementals a little earlier in the run. And if they do that, they may go even quicker and certainly a little more faster.
And of course, that's the only remaining Don Schumacher team car left in funny car action. And they don't even get a shot at Tony Pedregon until the finals if they get that far. Time to go back to the starting line. And Jim Yates has lane choice. He's moved over to the right lane. What's going on in Pro Stock?
Well, the only thing I can figure, they saw, Mike Edwards and Kurt Johnson both made very good runs in that right lane. So obviously they saw something they liked.
001 light for Gene Wilson. But the win goes to Jim Yates. 6.76, 202 miles an hour, a 6.79 for Gene Wilson. Just not quite enough.
One of the reasons the Pro Stock cars don't like the right-hand lane is because of the bump we're talking about. And they usually lose a little bit of tire spin, and they'll actually lose a few hundred RPM, and it slows them down maybe a couple thousand or hundredths of a second, but allowed Jim Yates to get the win right there. Good pass.
One of the questions that's come up is why isn't Jason Line running more races to help Greg Anderson extend his lead in Pro Stock? The answer is simple. If he runs more than 4 races during the course of the season, he'll lose his rookie status. Greg Anderson wants to make sure he comes back next year and wins the Rookie of the Year honors.
He's alongside of Larry Morgan right now. Both these guys ran career bests in qualifying. Oh, Morgan goes left. He still gets around him. 6.78 at 2:04. Bob Glidden has got to be stunned because this car wanted to head for the wall.
I mean, that car made a hard move towards the wall. He gets out of the group, pulls second gear right there, and reels it back in and drives it right down the middle of the course to get the win. What a great job by Larry.
Back at the starting line, you're looking at the third member of Pro Stock to set a career best in ET. Steve Schmidt ran a 6.78 in qualifying, good enough for the number 14 spot. He's up against Warren Johnson. Now, Schmidt has not beaten Warren, get this, since Atlanta of 1998. Oh, and WJ, a huge advantage off the line. And he still hasn't beaten Warren since 1998. WJ goes 6.78 at 2:03 to take the win. Now, you've heard us talk about that bump in that right lane. Take a look.
Watch right there, Marty. We're going to talk about the drive shaft gets going faster. Look at that. It looks like it just about comes off the ground. The sidewall was definitely off, so it wasn't planted to where it definitely had a lot of excess tire spin right at that point.
And there it is, right there at half track. As we pull back towards the starting line as we get ready for number 1 qualifier, points leader, Greg Anderson. There is a record that is well within his grasp. Darrell Alderman set that mark back in 1991. And right now, Greg has just been slaying everybody. Wisnett got a big, big challenge here. Mark took a shot at the tree. That's about the only thing he could try. The win like 6:72, 2:04, and an 0:11 light. Who's going to beat him? Unbelievable. As we go on board with Jeg Coughlin, think about this. That is the second time he's lowered the track record this weekend.
Unbelievable. He's ran over 205 miles an hour a couple of times in qualifying also.
Jeg Coughlin now left lane against Ron Krischer.
2 feet, you're on.
That is the team talking to Jeg. And we have a camera right on the suspension. Yesterday we had a great shot of the launch. That car just moves and the tires stood still.
We talked about that 60-foot time, 1 second. The front end's the air for about 40 feet of that 60 feet.
Oh my. Krischer, hello, this is the hotel with your wake-up call. 6:72 at 2:03.
2:03.40, Jack. Right run.
Jeg had 9 100ths in the bank coming off the line.
And he had a 9.76 and 60 feet. Just unbelievably quick for the launch off the starting line. What a great job for that team.
He misses Anderson's track record by 1/1000th of a second. Do you smell a showdown coming for the second week in a row? Oh, we could have it. When we come back, it'll be time for Top Fuel, second round. The record is still out there to be had. Are we going to get it? Come on back and find out. Take a look now as we get ready for second round in Top Fuel. Arrow indicates that Doug Coletta and Rhonda Hartman have the lane choice, and so does Corey McLenithan and Kenny Bernstein. And Corey Mack comes to the line right now, and he'll be in the left lane. Shirley, of course, running a career best again, back-to-back. She goes 4.578, does not get lane choice, so she's over in the right-hand lane. And even though their careers did not overlap a lot, there is the number that Corey needs to run to back up his national record. He has already run the 446, needs to go 451 or better. This is the first time these two have ever met in competition.
That's kind of a surprise there, Marty, but I think Corey McLenithan, he's probably going to try to do the same thing he did the first run, get the thing down the racetrack, as will Shirley, and hopefully we'll just see a good side-by-side race.
And Shirley is moving on to the semifinals. Shirley goes 5:06 at 2:96, and you saw Corey just blister the hides.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I mean, they've been running very good in qualifying, but on race day, they've been spinning the tires. And once again, they got bit by the dreaded tire smoke. Probably went a little bit of tire smoke. You see Shirley over there, she was having problems of her own. Put a cylinder out on the right side. Watch over here. You're going to see a cylinder go out, and then the car, oh, she backpedaled it, then got back on, then put the cylinder out, drives over towards the wall. Look at that thing start to slide around as she tries to get it back towards the center of the group. But at that point, she does reel it in and gets to the finish line ahead of Corey.
Okay, you're looking at Jimmy Prock. Of course, we have team cars matching up. Let's find out about lane choice, because right now the favored lane was the left lane, and he's got the lane choice, Dave Reef.
And Marty, a lot of us have visions of what happened in Seattle at the Don Schumacher camp. So Jimmy Prock with lane choice, getting ready to send Gary Densham up there with a shot at the record. What lane are you going to put your car in?
Probably the right.
For obvious reasons?
No, we're paid to win here. You know, Ford pays us to win, and we're going to do what we have to do.
Right lane has not been very kind to this car this weekend.
Lanes are not a problem. I mean, the reason it shook the other day was just the tune-up. I changed the tune-up for that run, and it still shook in the left lane. So the lanes aren't why it shakes. Either lane is awesome here.
So let's find out what John Medlin has to say. He's with Parker.
And John Medlin's making his way down to the through the staging lane to the start lane. John, Jimmy Prock just said it looks like they're going to be in the right lane. Is that orchestrated? Did you know that that was coming?
No, actually, I don't think that we know that for sure at all. Jimmy's got lane choice, and he'll probably evaluate what the cars are doing up and down the racetrack, and he's going to give us what left. Okay. I don't know if that's right or left.
All right, Marty.
We don't have choice. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, you run a 472 track record, which is just 1/1000th off of the national mark, and you're going to get out of that lane. I think everybody's going to be questioning that. More on this race coming up between Kenny Bernstein and Paul Romine. Let's check in with Bill.
Shirley Muldowney just out of her car. You had to wrestle that baby around a little, didn't you?
Yeah, it was very ugly out there. But it recovered real good. I've had a little bit of practice with that, the match racetracks, or the skating rinks, I should say. But it did what I wanted it to do.
30 years of experience will get you win light under those situations.
Hey, Bill, get ready. We may have to get on Kenny Bernstein here, and if he wins this round, because guess who is going to bump Brandon Bernstein finally out of the top 10 in points? You got it. Dear old Dad. Nice guy.
What took him so long?
Paul Romine's going to try and hold him back. Red light, Romine. Kenny goes 449, 328 miles an hour. That's doing it in style. So the big red machine and the Budweiser King sets the mark here in the second round. Stay with us. We've got more cars coming. Back here with Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone. I'm Marty Reed, and we're getting ready for Larry Dixon and Rhonda Hartman-Smith. But first, let's check in with Bill at the far end.
Kenny Bernstein, last year at the NHRA award ceremony, we said a heartfelt farewell to you, and looks like you're going to be up on the stage again. You just moved into the top 10.
Yeah, but I bumped out Brandon. That's not the way to do that, right? That's too bad. Hey, I appreciate it. Again, I want to thank the fans for all their prayers for Brandon. He's really doing good. He'll be back in there next year. I'm still that old substitute. That's all I am.
How about a 449 on that one?
Hey, Timmy, Buck King, you know, Lucas, you got it, Mac. Way to go.
449, not bad for a substitute.
Not bad at all. But we see here Rhonda Hartman had lane choice. She chose the right-hand lane because she ran 452 in that right-hand lane. Larry Dixon's going to be in the same lane as he was the previous round when he barely got by in the first round when he had to backpedal and get down the other end of the racetrack.
Top Fuel wins by lane, 6 in the left, 4 in the right. It is, we can tell you, 6 and 2 in funny car. And we're going to get into that issue, I'm sure, as this continues. Time now for Rhonda and Larry. Whoa, Dixon's up in smoke again, and he is pedaling, and he dodges a bullet. 569 to a 923. Rhonda went up in smoke right at the head of the throttle. And Dick LaHaye, I mean, this is 2 runs in a row where they haven't gotten what they're looking for.
Man, I'd rather be lucky than good. And normally Larry Dixon and Dick LaHaye are very good. But today they've been very lucky because this thing went out there, rattled the tires. He backpedals, starts to lift the front end way up, and he has to get back out of it. And you see him trying to hit the throttle there. And I can't think that maybe that car was bouncing so much it was actually bouncing his foot off the throttle. There he goes, gets out of it, gets back on. Now watch the front end come up as the clutch starts to drive in, gets back out of it. Man, it hits hard there, and he's trying just to feather the throttle back in, but it's very hard to do because look how hard that car is bouncing, and you're sitting there just trying to squeeze that throttle. Let me tell you something, and you're on that fucking Bronco, it's very hard to do, but he did get the win.
Take a look one more time, and we talk about, remember the accident that Tony Schumacher had, how much flex there has to be, and the punishment this chassis has taken. Look at the wheelie bar doing its job.
Right there on the bottom, he got her up on the wheelie bar, slams it back down, then watch the butterflies again. He's trying to feather the throttles, but the car keeps bouncing, picking the front end up. He's never really even going to full throttle, but car's just going down the racetrack, and he's into the next round.
You called it right, a bucking Bronco. Tony Schumacher now and Doug Kalitta. And let's go back and show you what happened in the first round. You want to talk about wild rides? Tony had one in the first round.
Yeah, he smoked the tires right at the head of the throttle. It looked like his day was done. He sees Scott Kalitta in trouble, and he just feathers the throttle, gets right back on, and had her a little bit sideways off the starting line. But once he gathered it back in, he was able to drive by Scott for the win.
So, as we get ready for Doug Kalitta's efforts and Tony Schumacher's, we'll quickly go to the far end of Bill.
Kenny Bernstein was down here while you were making your run, Larry, and he said, why couldn't he have done that more last year? What's going on?
I don't know. You know, some days you kill him with dominance, and some days you kill him with sheer luck. And the Miller Lite team, close to Milwaukee, a lot of people there. How about this? My wife gave me this a while back. It's a real 4-leaf clover. Must work.
Yeah, sure does.
All right. Right now, we've turned our attention to that man, Doug Kalitta. He needs to run that number, 4.472 or quicker, to back up his earlier run for a national record.
But his main concern, Marty, is going to be getting around Tony Schumacher. With Alan Johnson tuning, you never know what that car is going to do.
There will be no new national record, although Tony Schumacher goes 4:46 with a 4. Now we'll have to look into the runs that he's made earlier. I think his quickest was 4:55. That would not be enough to back it up. So, but he's now got a shot. Dave?
It is getting very, very exciting indeed, especially down here in the Budweiser camper. The team has just rolled in with the Budweiser top fuel dragster driven by Kenny Bernstein, and you can see crew already hard at work going to it. The clutch pack being worked on in the back. They're about ready to take that titanium clutch can off there. They're also working on taking the supercharger off the top. They do have the spark plug wires all pulled. The head's coming off, getting ready to come off as soon as the supercharger's off. And it is just unbelievable to watch these guys work as close as they do with all of these hot parts in the unison that they do, and it's absolutely good stuff.
Thanks, Dave. Here are the lane choices. Tony Schumacher's going to have to run. Does this sound familiar? A 4:51. And Kenny Bernstein, a 4:49. That would back up if he can go quicker than his current national mark. When we come back, it's time for Funny Car and what's going to happen in the lane choice issue. Now let's turn our attention to Funny Car. Phil Burkhardt and Gary Scelzi have the lane choice, and then you can see Ron Capps and the big matchup, Gary Dencham, Tony Pedregon. We've already been told what's going to happen there. More on that when that approaches. Right now, Ron Capps and John Force.
Yeah, and Ron Capps got lane choice by 1/100th of a second over John Force when John dropped the cylinder in the first run. You see the wins by lane, 6 in the left, 2 in the right, but you got to remember that's kind of deceiving sometimes because in the first round all the good cars all picked the left lane.
Well, but Capps won in the right lane because his teammate Tommy Johnson went up in smoke. Whit Bazemore lost in the left lane because he went up in smoke. Here we go. And now John Force has won in the right lane with a 4:83, which is 5/100ths better than his first round run of 4:88.
Nice run for John Force. I don't think there's a big difference in the lanes as far as early in the run. Just that bump at the transition, about 400 feet. As you see, John, the right lane, the cars seem to tend to want to move over towards the wall a little bit, and then they bounce right there when they come off that transition, a little bit more so than they do in the left-hand lane, and that's why the lane choice normally has been the left side.
There's Tony Schumacher. That means he must be with Bill.
Yeah, let's see if I got this straight now. The second quickest car in history just beat the first quickest car in history with the third quickest elapsed time in history. Does that sound right?
Hey, man, that makes me feel like I'm hooked on phonics or something, but it doesn't matter. Wind light comes on. What an outstanding run. Conditions are cool. I mean, they're very cool. You have to be able to make it to the finish line. Obviously, we did in the first round. We had to pedal it, but that was an awesome, awesome run there. We're going to go and probably go back to the left lane. I hate to do that because we just ran the second quickest, you said?
Third quickest.
Third quickest. What an outstanding run, but we have some bumps in the right lane. We have some concern there. But for the Army, Gates, Belts, Matco Tools, Johnson's an animal. He's the crew chief of the year right now.
Yeah, Tony said it kicked out a little bit on that run.
Bill, 35 seconds ago, the turnaround dance began down in Larry Dixon's pits. I couldn't believe the crew van crossed the Kiwi tile at a good 20 to 25 miles an hour, dragging the top fueler behind it. Up on the jacks, you can see the ballistic blankets, fuel lines, spark plug leads all taken off at the far end in preparation for this turnaround. You can see, as Dave mentioned earlier with Kenny Bernstein's crew, it is a choreographed dance that these crewmen perform. Each one knowing their job, not getting in the way, the tools readily at hand, work at the front of the car proceeding as well at the back of the car. And usually it's 41 to 43 minutes that this team gets this car turned around, giving them an extra margin of safety for that third round of competition. Bill?
One of my favorite lines in movies, Romancing the Stone, Michael Douglas. This is going to be one hell of a day.
Man, you ain't a kidding. That rattled me so hard, my Powerade flew everywhere in the cockpit. I mean, that was a rattle. This track is so good, the air's so good. And the driver don't know what to do. You don't know whether to go, what's happening, pedal it, and just truck down through there. And I got President Peterson here from Gettysburg Lewis. Big old machines, technology, but I'm excited for all of us, and see what my two boys can do right now. We're getting back in this hunt, finally.
Can I get down the right lane, John?
Huh?
Can they get down the right lane, okay?
Hell, both lanes are excellent.
There you go.
Well,
I believe.
Hey, Cassie.
Lane choice for Phil Burkhart. He takes the left lane against Corey Lee. And Corey goes red. So Burkhart, and he goes 477 at 318 miles an hour. That's a career best for him. All right, I'm going to flat out say this. You have got Gary Dencham, who has run twice in the left lane, and both times run 472. His one time in the right lane, he smokes the tires. He's got a shot at a national record, and now he's over in the right lane, and we know what's going on.
Well, I mean, you got to look at the facts, Marty. I mean, you can't really put words in their mouths, but you're exactly right. I mean, he definitely has made 3 runs, has not been down the right lane. Now, I also believe there's not a big difference in the lane because we've seen very good runs, except for that bump in the right lane, and that is why mostly everybody has been running the left. But if I'm a crew chief and I've been down the left lane twice running 472 and then didn't get down the right-hand lane, I'm staying in that left lane.
Well, and remember, Tony did the big wheel stand yesterday in that right lane. So, you know, we put Team Schumacher feet to the fire. I think we have to spread it around. Here we go. And Tony Pedregon wins the race at 499. And Gary Dencham, we'll have to look at it. Did it look like the tires were smoking at all?
Well, he backpedaled, but I didn't see any tire smoke till maybe after he got back on it. Let's see if we can tell from the replay. Watch on the right-hand side there. You're going to see Gary leaving. You're going to see a backpedal. He went into some pretty serious tire shake there. He definitely did. And then when he got back on it did smoke the tires, but you know, you're going to have to be the judge of that. It was definitely shaking the tires, and when he did backpedal, it did smoke the tires.
And Tony Pedregon does not have lane choice now as we take another look, and you can see the tire shake over in the right lane. Boy, it never did that in the left lane. Bill?
Down here with Nitro, Phil Burkhart, and I've known you a while, Phil. You have bounced around. There have been some lean times, but things are pretty fat now with a career best 477.
Is that awesome or what? Checker, Shucks, and Creighton car, hauling butt. I'll tell you, the Worshams, great team, great guys to work for. The thing got out there. I mean, I saw Corey go, and I thought I was either sleeping or I didn't know what happened. So I just obviously stood on the thing. It jerked the front end in the air. I mean, and it was just hauling. I loved it. I love this racetrack. Joliet, we can do it.
I spoke to his team owner, Chuck Worsham, yesterday, and Nitro Phil is on the case for next year with CSK.
It's called seizing the moment. A good opportunity for Phil Burkhart. Now, here's how the rule works. You've got to run a backup within 1% of that record timer speed. And you're looking at Gary Scelzi because he could take the speed record, which he already owns, a little bit higher if he can run 324.77 or faster.
Yeah, but Gary Scelzi right now is just thinking about getting this round win and trying to win the race today, and it's going to be awfully tough because Del Worsham, he loves this racetrack, runs very well here, and he's been running good all weekend, so this is going to be a good matchup here. If both cars get down the racetrack, it'll be a good race.
Oh, it was a great race, and Scelzi goes, look at this, 473 and 329.18 miles an hour. And that is backing up. In fact, that is now your new record, 329, because his earlier run at 328 does the number. And Del Worsham's got to be destroyed. He runs 476 at 321 and loses.
Boy, but what a great race. I mean, Del had about 100th of a second off of the starting line, was still ahead at the half track because they ran basically the same elapsed time, but didn't have big mile an hour, 329 miles per hour at the other end. Just got by for the win. Margin of victory. There it is. Half a car length. What a great race.
Bill?
Down here with Tony Pedregon. A lot of questions, Tony, about lane choice and team orders. You guys are running for a championship. John has said any number of times you race to Lindy, you look at the points. That's what teammates are for. You're moving on.
Well, on top of that, you can't argue about lane choice because it is not a factor, unlike maybe like a Brainerd race where you know, you're at a definite handicap. But I'm just doing my thing in the car, and I think for once it was actually starting to scoot and run in the 70s, and then the belt came off. So we've gotten, I think, to this point a couple of breaks. We do realize, myself and Medlin Dickey, that we do need to step up the performance, and we need to keep it together, and we believe we can do that. We're just, hey, we're here, and so far so good.
And Tony just saw what Scelzi did, and if he wins the next round, he could meet Gary in the final.
And you see the lane choices, and we'll come back with the factory hot rods. Obviously, more action coming your way right here. All right, here's how Pro Stop's going to shake out in round number 2. Arrow indicates that it's Greg Anderson and Jim Yates with the lane choice on the left side, and Jed Coughlin and Bruce Allen over on the right. Now, we were talking about the lanes, and look at the difference. That bump in the middle.
I mean, here's a groove right here, Marty, and look at all the tire tracks, especially in this right-hand lane going over here, more so than even in the left-hand lane, and that's one of the problems. The bump is right about there, and that's where they start, you see the tire tracks start moving around.
And we'll go with Bruce Allen and Warren Johnson, and the lane choice went to Bruce Allen. He took the left lane. Oh, and a big advantage. The wind light in a hole shot. Bruce Allen, 680.201 to a quicker but losing 675 at 2:04. Let's check in with Bill and Gary Scelzi.
Well, a 473 career best elapsed time is one thing, but remember in our last conversation, we were flirting with that 330 number. You just got a lot closer to it.
Let me tell you what, Force calls this thing a Hudson. He better call it fast, baby, because this Dodge is a missile. Let me tell you, Zippy is not shy. He jumps on him with both feet every time, and everybody in Oakley and Lucas Oil. You know, Forrest is always here, and he always says hello, and I always forget to mention Lucas Oil. And I think we're going to need some more Lucas Oil because we might have thrown a couple of chiclets out of it that time. But, hey, it's dynamite. We're going to the semis, and the Bazemore and Pedregon can be counting points for the championship. I'm counting trying to move up to 5th if we can do it, but we'll see what happens.
Hey, Gary, real quick, the lanes today. There's some question, right lane, left lane. Is there that big a difference?
We ran the 76 in the right lane, or 75, whatever it was we ran at qualifying. It's all good, man. This place is it's got teeth. You ought to call it Jaws.
Boy, watch this. Here's the groove here, Marty. That's the left edge of the groove. And watch Bruce Allen on this run. When he launches, that thing's going to move over towards the wall like we've seen a lot of cars do today. Then what happens is the car gets way too much tire spin. You're going to see him start to slide around right there, trying to bring that thing back over into the groove, which he's going to be able to do towards the finish line. But by that time, he loses a lot of laps time. He still ran a 680, which was good enough to get by Warren Johnson on a hole shot, but just a good job driving there.
And Bruce going to his second semifinal of the year. And now we've got Jim Yates and Larry Morgan coming to the line. Yates looking to go to his third semifinal of the season, as is Larry. These guys have hooked up only once prior this year. That was back at round 2 at Indianapolis. Larry Morgan won that matchup. I think it's called a staging duel. Anybody have a good novel? There's Rick Stewart taking a look at the watch. Slight advantage, Morgan. Winlight Morgan, 675 at 203 miles an hour, and that is a new career best for Larry Morgan. Let's check in with Dave Reef.
And Marty, all the fans of NHRA drag racing are very, very lucky. Granted, the Star Wars conditions are nice, but let's talk about Top Fuel semifinals, where a couple of legends will be getting it on. Kenny Bernstein and Shirley Muldowney. Now, KB, I know you're a chivalrous man, but let's face it, Shirley nailed you a couple of times last year, so you might want one back here.
Nice guy you are. Tell me about that at this stage of the game.
Reminding politely.
Thank you a lot. No, it's the truth. She's a great driver, great team, and we got to take care of business, do the best we can.
But you guys have had a really consistent race car. You were my pick yesterday. We've talked about that, and you guys have been consistent.
I'll give credit to Tim and the whole Bud team and Lucas Oil, because obviously that's what it takes. Conditions are, as you said, absolutely great, but everybody's got the same conditions. So they're doing a great job. The car's consistent. We just need to keep going the way it's going right now, and hopefully you'll get there. You never know. You just do the best you can.
Well, Kenny Bernstein has not had a lot of success with any of the ladies, and we'll get into that when he comes to the starting line. We're getting ready for Jake Coughlin, Kurt Johnson, but quickly, let's go to Bill.
Larry Morgan's doing his best Bob Glidden impression, mowing him down, career best, couple times this weekend.
You know, having that guy behind my car, he gave me a little boot when I took off, so, you know, I'm just happy for Mopar that we've gotten this far, and just trying to keep, we would really like to win this race. It's one I've never won, so hopefully we can do that.
He's been the star for Team Mopar this year.
Jake Coughlin, Kurt Johnson, these guys have met 4 times this year. Kurt has won 3 of them. Slight advantage, Jeg, but he goes a little left. But a 6.74, 2:02. 7/1000th advantage off the starting line. Let's take another look.
Once again, you see the car move over the wall, but Jeggy really reeled her back in quickly to keep it from getting out of the groove. Made a nice pass right down there, 674. Watch him work that steering wheel and then start going through the groove. Car settled down right there. She gets her into high gear, pulls the parachute at the finish line, and gets the win line.
Jag in his 10th semifinal of the year. Let's check in with Parker.
Marty, you're looking at the computer data generated during Larry Dixon's last run, and as you can see, it looks like someone with a can of silly string attacked the screen. Dick LaHaye, when we see you go down the track and have problems, I think everyone's surprised, but 2 runs in a row, I think everyone's shocked. Have you been able to isolate the problem?
Well, a lot of it has to do with we suck on cold racetracks. It's that simple. You know, Friday nights we don't run well and so forth. And it's multiplied now. It seems like the more we try to correct it, the deeper the hole is we dig for ourselves. But we're going to go the opposite direction this time and see what happens. Fortunately, we've been able to draw a lot out of the luck bank, and we've got a couple rounds here and that we probably shouldn't have, but we're going to try to win the next one too.
Marty, they're hoping the sun comes out really soon down here.
Yeah, they want a heat wave from Florida fast. Back at the starting line, you got Greg Anderson and Darrell Alderman. And you can tell by the cloud cover, Florida is a long way from Chicago. Dead even off the line, which is bad news for Alderman. 672, 204. Kim likes it. 676 for Darrell. And for Greg, he's moving into his 15th semifinal of the season. Take a look. He's got lane choice over Larry Morgan, and it'll be Jag Coughlin with the lane choice over Bruce Allen. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Well, we have had all kinds of excitement, record-setting performances here at Joliet, and we may have our 3rd straight showdown in the finals between Jag and Greg. There they are. Let's go to Bill.
Actually, going back to Sonoma, Jeggy beat Greg in that final. Then they raced in Brainerd. Greg won. They raced at Indy. Greg won. They raced in Memphis. Greg won. And now you may meet in the final round, but, you know, Kurt Johnson's been chasing you all year, and now the yellow and black is sneaking up on your tailgate.
Yeah, I know. That's a Jag trait. Last half of the season every year, you better look out. You better have a big lead going into that last half of the year because Jag's going to come. I don't know what it is. If they ever get off to a good start, you're in trouble. But luckily, they didn't this year, and we did. And it's going to be another great run if we get to run it. But I got one more guy to get around first.
And that's the deal, Jaggy. You can't take anybody for granted out here.
No, that's for sure. And as Greg said, we both got some work to do before we can square it off again. But you know, we've just had some nail biters side by side, and that's the way the fans and all the viewers out there like it. And for everyone at Team Jags, we're going to keep on marching.
It could be a monster.
Track Fact brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles.
Well, Kenny Bernstein just chastised me for reminding him about how he races against this lady, but Shirley Muldowney, you did have his number twice last year.
Yeah, we did. I'm pretty sure we helped seal it for Dixon. I know Kenny was gracious, but not happy.
The Pink Lady car is really thundering this weekend. What would it mean to get one more NHRA win?
I think it would be great certainly for the whole team. And we're just going to take it one round at a time, chip away at it, and you know, maybe I don't know what sink they're going to throw at it this time, but you know, I'm ready to drive it, whatever it delivers.
We love this legendary lineup coming up in the semis.
Dave, perhaps the biggest race of the weekend could be the semifinal matchup between John Force and Tony Pendragon. The winner of this event could determine the funny car champion. As we look at the data on Austin Coyle's screen, you can see that John Force is producing nothing but straight lines. They're keeping it very close to the vest as to which lane John Force will choose. Right now, they're saying the right lane. Any predetermined outcome? Well, they're not sharing that with us.
Thanks, Parker. We've got a lot more coming your way. Top Fuel semifinals when we return to Route 66. Time now for the semifinals in Top Fuel. We're going to shake the earth. And who's going to the finals? Tony Schumacher, Larry Dixon, or in the other matchup, Shirley Muldowney and Kenny Bernstein. Numbers 4 and 6 on the all-time top 50 drivers side by side. If you got your VCR rolling, this is a page of history. This may be the last time these two are side by side. We thought last year in Las Vegas. And look at that. The last time she made it to a final was 1989 against Darrell Gwynn. Let's go back to Las Vegas. This basically put Kenny out of the championship chase as Shirley just drilled him. And he has lost 3 out of 4 times to Shirley in their career.
Wow, it's an amazing stat. She would like nothing more than to be able to get around Kenny Bernstein. But boy, Kenny looked awfully good in the previous round with that 449 in the same lane he is, the left lane. But you got to remember, Phil, he's been struggling in the semifinals this year. He's been to a lot of semifinals, hasn't been able to get past them. So hopefully he can break that jinx.
Hasn't been to a final since Reading of last year. Let's get more from Parker.
Well, I just spoke to Shirley's crew chief, Ron Tobler. He said they're just darn glad to have made it to the semis. I asked him what he's got the car tuned for. He said, hey, if we can get down the track with another 457, that would be great. He said, we just don't have the experience to go any faster than that.
A 451, and Shirley went 461. You saw her get close to the center line. Kenny, 331.69 miles an hour. So, KB, if this is the last time, this is the one he'll remember the most.
Boy, another nice run by Kenny Bernstein. Tim Richards and the whole crew. 451 in that left-hand lane. Nice and smooth down through the middle. 276 miles an hour at the 8. That's that point where Shirley started moving over towards the center. But by then, basically, Kenny was pulling away. Let's look in slow motion as Shirley Muldowney. She makes a decent run. A little bit. Oh, she actually pedaled the throttle. You saw the injector blades go shut because it did have a little bit of tire shake. Then it moved over towards the center, and she still ran a 461. Not a bad driving job.
And let's check in with Parker.
Well, we're looking to the big semifinal matchup between John Force and Tony Pendergon. With us, Coyle John's crew chief. John said after this run, either he's going to set a new record or have a beer. Austin, you've gone for the right lane. Can you give us any insight on what you plan to do here?
Alan Johnson ran 446 right over here just the last round. I think it's a little better than people think. We're having trouble shaking, and the left lane has been shaking worse for us, so we're going to take the right.
So you get the word from Austin Coyle. We'll turn our attention back to Tony Schumacher. Now, he can back up his 464 from earlier if he runs 451. But he's now moved over to the left lane. And let's go back and take a look at these two guys earlier today.
Well, they both had troubles getting down that left-hand lane. You can see Tony Schumacher on the left side of your screen smokes the tires as soon as he hits the throttle. At that point, you see Scott Coletta having a problem. He gets back in it. Well, the difference was the car was able to settle down. Larry Dixon, on the other hand, the car was still in a bind. It was actually launched and shook, and then when he tried to get back in, it kept lifting the front end up. It was a bucking Bronco from that point where Tony Schumacher's car was settled down. Even though it ran a 603, it was smooth from the time he got back on the throttle all the way to the finish line for the win.
More on this matchup. Let's go to the far end. Bill.
Still a few races left to go this season, Kenny. That may have been the last time you'll ever be side-by-side with Shirley, and what a way to show us what two legends can do.
I appreciate it. She's a great driver, a great person. We're glad that she's been around as long as she has. And we just went up there scared to death, hoping we could get down there without doing something wrong. And they did a great job, and so did Tim and my boys, Lucas. That's what it takes to go to the final. And I was a little surprised it didn't run quicker, but that's okay.
How long remember that one?
You know, these guys are getting greedy. A 451 and they're upset.
They're spoiled, Marty.
And we're getting spoiled, too, by the great performances. There's Dick LaHaye. You heard him earlier tell Parker, we suck in cold weather.
Well, it's interesting to note, we heard Austin Coyle say he wanted to take the right lane because Tony Schumacher ran that 446 in the right. Look what lane Tony Schumacher's in. He's in the left lane.
And he had the choice. Job. And it's going to be Larry Dixon this time. So they are living lucky. Flat out, they'll be the first to admit it. Parker?
We're just going to keep taking it. That's all I can say. I mean, my gosh. We can't, I mean, we have drawn from the luck bank 3 times today. And if they want to keep giving them to us, we'll just keep taking it. I mean, this is insane.
The worst part about it is he doesn't have an idea what's wrong.
They always come back. All the good guys come back. Amazing.
Take a look at the run right there. And it will be a battle of the beer wagons, but Kenny Bernstein definitely has the advantage. And the lane choice. When we come back, it'll be time for Funny Car semifinals here at Joliet. Back here at the CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals, getting ready for the matchup between John Force and Tony Pedregon. But first, let's check in with Dave Reef. He's with Shirley.
And a little pedal may have been the difference between Shirley and Kenny Bernstein. You guys shared a very nice moment down here. What KB say?
He always says the right thing. We had a little talk about something, and I accept exactly what he told me to be the gospel truth.
And she's gone once again.
But it's not the last time we'll see Shirley on her last ride. Funny Car now. Phil Burkhardt in one semifinal matchup against Gary Selzy, and the one we're getting ready to watch, John Force and Tony Pedregon. We already know that Force is taking the right lane. He's got the lane choice. And we all have been talking about, team tactics and everything else. There are the times and speeds for Tony.
Well, Mark, the other thing is, too, you got to look at the facts. Up until this run, the only car that chose the right lane in Funny Car during eliminations was Gary Ditcham last round when he ran Tony Pedregon. Does that mean there's team orders? Well, I mean, you're going to have to be the judge. I mean, an interesting point was brought up to me that if John Force can win this race and go on and win the finals here, he's going to be within 5 rounds of winning the championship. And, that could be on his mind, too. So let's see what happens.
We're going to find out. Force did win in the right lane. Here we go. Tony goes 479. That's his best run of the day at 318 miles an hour. And John strikes the tires right at the hit of the throttle. And, of course, hey, have to be honest, we can't prove that they didn't throw the race, but
yeah, but it's the first time he's blown the tires off and right at the hit of the throttle all week. And Marty, I mean, it's one of those mysteries that we may never know, right?
And let's find out from Larry Dixon what life's all about living large.
You look like the cat that ate the canary.
Yeah, unbelievable. You got Bernstein over on the other side running 440s and 450s, and he's going rounds, and we're running 640s and 650s and going rounds. But, whatever it takes, Miller Lite cars in the final round. For me, that pretty much does it as far as Coletta. I think we got a 16-round lead with 16 to go, but who's counting?
Not him.
Yeah, it's the first time he's actually said that. As we get ready for Gary Selzy, he'll be in the left lane. And that man right there, Phil Burkhardt, he is doing very well. Let's learn more about him.
Hi, I'm Phil Burkhardt from Yorkville, New York, driver of the Checker Shucks and Cragen Blue Team Funny Car. When I'm not at the racetrack, I'm home building hot rods, riding my Harley, and snowmobiling. All my life I've worked towards driving a top-level, top-fuel funny car, and now I'm here.
And he will be over in the right lane because Gary Selzy, of course, has a lane choice after running that great 473, and he takes the left lane. Quickly, Parker.
Mike, I think we saw the turnaround of the season begin at Bristol when we had barbecue with Gary Selzy. He and crew chief Mike Neff said they're going back to what they knew, and it looks like it's working.
Guess what? Phil Burkhardt is going to his first career final. He goes 477 at 319 to a 484. So a big surprise there as Burkhardt digs deep and goes to the finals. Let's check in with Bill.
Actually, Phil will be going to another final. He actually won a race, believe it or not, back in Columbus, and the smile on Tony Pedregon's face tells me that he's happy to be going to a final.
All this racket, all these races to get me to smile again, but we're happy for Auto Club of Southern California and MB&A and Castrol, of course, and Ford, and I'd have taken either one of them boys, but I am happy to be in the final. I know we still have some work to do, but sure does put a smile back on my face.
Let's go to Dave.
John, it was overheard in the pitch. You were either going to set a world record or enjoy the finals with a beer. Looks like that beer might be the option.
Yeah, well, but I'm still happy my guy's in, and the Mopars are out, and that's, like I say, that's what we do. But, bottom line, his car was trying to run earlier. In fact, all these cars tried to run national record. Of course, so did a lot of other ones. I'm impressed with Burkhardt come up with that number. Good out here. But, yeah, we hung it out there and just didn't get it. So we'll go back and hope we can get the winner. That's important. But most important, in the overall picture, my boys got back in that points lead. So I needed the national record if I had a shot at the title, and I'm running out of time. There's only 4 left. So, but don't get me wrong. I'm happy. I'm happy.
He's a happy man, Bill.
Down here with Phil Burkhardt. I guess waiting 4 years between final rounds is spacing it out pretty evenly, huh?
Oh, we don't want to wait that long. But here we are, back to this racetrack. I love all you guys. Checker, Shucks, and Cragen and the Worshams made it happen for me. I'll see what I can do for all of you.
Here's a guy who's just like Clay Milliken, used to hang out at races looking for a ride. Look what's happened to him.
And my apologies to Phil for spacing his other final appearance. Stay with us. Time now for Pro Stock semifinals. You're on board with Jake Coughlin. He's in the left lane up against Bruce Allen. In their career, they've met 11 times. Jeg has won 8 of them. Big advantage, Coughlin. Air to spare. 672.
203.26. Great job.
Bruce Allen runs a 674. That's the best he's run all weekend, and he's still on the short end.
Yeah, and this race was over right from the beginning, Marty. Obviously a great light. Bruce Allen was a little bit off, and I think it's because both cars went stage at the same time. It probably threw Bruce off a little bit, but I'll tell you, Jed Coughlin did a great job getting it right down the middle, hitting all them shift points, and running a 672 and getting the win.
So Jeg is in his 5th final of the season. What about Greg Anderson? Well, if he wins this matchup, it'll be his 12th appearance in the finals, and you can see he and Jeg have been the class of the day. In fact, that's 672.3 by Jeg. That's the 2nd time he's run that number today. Larry Morgan's going to try and put a stop to Greg Anderson's juggernaut.
Boy, and it's going to be very tough because not only has Greg been running good, but he's been driving very well too. 0-11 in one round, 0-15 in the other round. If he keeps doing that, it's going to be very tough for Larry Morgan to get around him.
Morgan was in a staging duel in the last round. Greg's moving in. Double 0-1 for Morgan. And the win light to Greg Anderson. He cut an 0-19 light, 2:04, 673 on the elapsed time to the 676 by Larry Morgan. Morgan did just about everything he could, but just too much. Greg Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Anderson just has to keep doing it. 0-19, that's a very good light, but he gave up 18 thousandths to Larry Morgan, but still that horsepower was able for him to get by on the win. You see this. You can see the intervals there. Obviously, that great reaction time for Larry Morgan. He was ahead 60 feet, and after that, it was Greg Anderson with that horsepower on the other end to get the win by that much.
Defending Powerade champion Jeg Coughlin, man, you got to be thinking, what would the point standings look like if you were running like this in February?
Well, obviously, in our mind, we know what they would look like, and obviously, we're real proud to be getting this car running well, and we're looking forward to 2004 without question. But we've got 5 races counting today left this season that we need to make some noise, and we got to thank our friends at Powerade and Coca-Cola for putting on a great series.
Man, these killer bees aren't leaving you alone. You got to race them again in the final round.
Everywhere I turn, it just gets tougher every week, But that's the way it should be. That's Powerade NHRA Pro Stock Racing. It just brings out the best in everybody. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Well, we got our final round matchups here at the CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals. So come on back to Joliet after this.
Back here at the CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals, the 3rd edition of the event here at Route 66 Raceway, and we have had just a fabulous day of racing. Let's get an update from the Kenny Bernstein pit. Here's Dave.
And Marty, it is an absolute chess game down here, but instead of black and white, the sides here are red and blue. Now, granted, the Blue Boys have yet to put down a number in eliminations, but the crew chief of the red effort, Tim Richards, knows that Dick LaHaye, the crew chief of the Blue Squad, will get it figured out very soon. They ran a 50 in qualifying. So the plan for KB, hop up the Budweiser Top Fuel dragster to try to checkmate his rival in the final. To Parker.
Dave Phil Burkhardt grew up a mechanic's son. He's driven a number of underfunded cars over the years. His lone final round appearance and victory coming in 1999 behind the wheel of the Nitro Fish funny car. But today, he's guided by freshman crew chiefs Mark Denner and Chris Cunningham And together, this team is looking for a win over Tony Pendragon.
Thanks, guys. We've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, it'll be time for the final here at Route 66. Time to do some serious ground pounding at the CarQuest Auto Parts Nationals. It's time for the finals in all three of our professional categories. Will it be Larry Dixon or Kenny Bernstein taking home the Wally and Top Fuel? In Funny Car, Phil Burkhart looking for number 2. Tony Pendragon looking to lengthen the points lead. And in Pro Stock, Greg Anderson in his 6th straight final. And for the 2nd final in a row, he's going to meet Jake Coughlin. And here they come. Pro Stock to the line. Jag had lane choice. He took the left lane.
Boy, great matchup, Marty, here. Two very evenly matched teams, both very good drivers.
Parker?
Changes made on both karts. For Jeggy, it was a weight change to the chassis. They're also going to get more aggressive with the clutch. For Greg Anderson, they drove through the clutch that last round of eliminations, so they've made changes there as well.
These two guys have met in the finals back at Sonoma. Jag won that one. Greg won the last one at Memphis. Red light, Anderson by 1/1000th of a second. So Jag picks up his 2nd win of the year, 33rd of his career. There's brother Troy, and the team is celebrating. Parker?
With crew chief Roy Simmons checking in with Jaggy. 2nd win of the year, Roy. Congratulations. I know you made a lot of changes for that run, but you didn't need them.
No, we didn't, and it worked out real good. They're good competitors over there, and our guys have been working real hard here lately, and we've been picking this car up every round and making it work better, and nothing better than working for Jags.
Well done.
As we take another look, Greg Anderson's point lead, 286 over Kurt Johnson. Jake Coughlin solidifies 3rd place even further.
And he missed it by only 1/1000th of a second. On board with Jeggy. Had a little bit of tire spin early in the run. Had to move the car over towards the right like we see him do all day. Got it right in the middle of the group. Made a 674, but didn't need it because Greg Anderson gave it away on the starting line.
And there are the numbers, and we are running out of rounds. There's only 16 official rounds of racing left. Greg Anderson still closing in on the championship. Now we've got Tony Pendragon and Phil Burkhart. Phil had lane choice. He has taken the left side, and I think let's put a period on this as far as team tactics. We heard earlier in the interview with Jimmy Prop, he said, well, this is a business that we have to run. The problem with team tactics is the fans don't pay to see a business. They pay to see races. We're going to see one now because Phil Burkhart is in the other lane and Tony Pendragon is in the right lane. Let's go talk to our Pro Stock winner.
Greg had to know 2 things. He was racing a car, performance-wise, that was his equal, and you were going to take a shot at the tree, and it cost him.
Man, how about that? And my hat's off to the entire team, Jake's crew. They've worked so hard this year to get this yellow and black car up front. We're there. Obviously, we're planning on being here to stay. I got to thank Powerade for such a great series, CarQuest for an event we barely got in this weekend. It's been cold and the track's been real marginal all weekend. I mean, obviously the track's been great, but track temperature's been marginal, but it held up all weekend. I got to say hi to my wife, Karen, and Jaggy at home. I love you guys, and great job to the whole team. It's been quite an effort, and we love to stay.
And we've got a problem with Phil Burkhart's car. They are going to order him to shut it off. It looks like he has an oil leak. Nope, now they're saying he's okay. Are they going to let him run? No.
No, they shut him off. He definitely did have an oil leak on the left side of the car. We saw some oil from underneath, just in front of the end or towards the front side of the engine. Tough break for that team.
So Tony Pendragon gets the bye run and runs a 476 at 316 miles an hour. So they traverse that right lane very handily. And for Tony, that really is his best run of the day. So he saved the best for last. In the championship chase, the win now means that Tony Pendragon's lead over Whit Bazemore is 69. John Force is 223 back, and Phil Burkhart salutes the fans who are cheering him for giving it the effort. Let's go to Parker.
4th final of the year for the blue CSK car, but Chuck Worsham, you had to shut it down at the line. What happened?
Well, it was leaking a little bit of oil, and I saw it leaking. I went up and looked at it, and Rick looked at me like,
I know what it is, but I didn't build that one. But it was leaking too bad to run. It would have been dangerous. So they did the right thing.
Let's go up to the far end with Dave.
Down with the Pro Stock runner-up, Greg. One stinking foul.
That's a bummer. What are you going to do? You got to go up there. You got to give it all you got. You know, he outrun me by 100 to run before, and I just knew I couldn't be late. But certainly wasn't a guess or anything. I just really bared down. I really thought I nailed it, and I seen the red when I went by. You got to be kidding me. But you know, that's Pro Stock these days. You live or die by the sword, and that's the first time I red lighted in a while. I've been real proud of the way I've drove, but I'm still not disappointed because a thou from perfect, and I think I would have beat him. I think I outrun him. You can't back off against a guy like that. So still a good day.
It's over to Bill Stevens.
For the first time since Columbus, Ohio, if you can believe it, Tony Pedregon goes to the winner's circle, and you made your best run of the weekend, Tony, to get there, even though Phil broke.
Well, I was a little disappointed, and I got to say this about that CSK team. Guys doing a tremendous job to get in that car and to get it to run. Whoever's crew chiefing on that car, and I know who they are, but did an outstanding job. But Castrol and Ford, Dan Davis on the starting line, we'd love to do it for them, and they give us, I said earlier, the downforce, MB&A, Mac Tools, Fram and Autolite, and you know, we kind of had to work from the ground up again, same old deal, and just be happy you can win one of these events, outstanding conditions, and I think we're going to test in a few days. Hi, Andrea Sessiari again. Mama, love you, and another smile on my face.
Tony has not had as big a points lead on Whit Bazemore since after the Seattle race. He has undone 5 races of progress that Whit has made. Parker?
Bill, I'm with a very disappointed Phil Burkhart. Your second career final, and you don't even get to make the run.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously very disappointing. You know, the guys, Checker, Shucks, and Craig and Carr told me that, you know, they tickled it just a little bit, and it should have went out and ran about 75 or so. Obviously, we had some small leak of some sort. You know, the starter was telling me shut it off. Crew chief was saying go, go, go. I was waiting, you know, going from the 4-point of the crew chief and, you know, hoping that I could go up and pull it to the line and give him a run and not give him a gimme in the final. But, you know, next weekend's Reading. It's my hometown. Have a lot of people there from home, from Utica, New York. And, hey, maybe now I'll make Tricky Tipster, huh?
Marty?
Thanks, Parker. Tricky Tipster is the writer in the National Dragster magazine who handicaps each race. And look at these averages. Oh, man, does that tell the story?
I mean, if you look at those numbers, if you're Larry Dixon, Dick LaHaye, you wouldn't even bring the thing to the starting line. But, you know, this is drag racing. And, well, you give Dick LaHaye you know, 3 runs to try to figure it out. You got to figure eventually he's going to get a handle on that. Tim Richards knows that, so he's not going to be taking him for granted, I can guarantee you.
The last time these two met in a final was Brainerd of last year. Kenny won that one. In fact, Kenny has won 5 of their 9 final round matchups. For Kenny, he's looking for his first win of the season, 66th of his career. Dixon is looking for his 9th win of the season, 34th of his career.
Marty, even though there's a big advantage in the average for Kenny Bernstein over Larry Dixon, it's still Larry Dixon versus Kenny Bernstein. This is a big race. I don't care what the numbers are. Both of these guys want to win. They're the 2 best teams. 2 of the best teams, if not the best teams going around. Obviously, Larry Dixon on his way to win a 2nd Power 8 championship. Kenny Bernstein just wants to get his first win this year after coming back from Brandon's injury.
Well, Dixon makes his best run of the day, but Bernstein goes 450, 328 miles an hour, and he gets the win. Parker.
Tim Richards, you told me you were going to take Dick LaHaye for granted. You didn't need to. You finally got Kenny's first win on the season. Congratulations.
Well, he's a great driver, and what it really says is if we give him the car to win with, he can win. He's one of the great drivers out here, and I really have a crew that I'm blessed with, and this whole team is like, this was a great race for us, and we needed it bad.
Well done.
Thanks.
Let's take another look at the race.
Well, and Tim Richards was right. This was a great race. This car was a bracket car all day. Just stuck right around the 450, 451 range. And there's the incremental times. Larry Dixon had the reaction time off the starting line, was ahead in 60 foot. But by half track, Kenny Bernstein was going on by 274 miles per hour in the 1/8 of a mile. Finish up with a 450 at over 328 miles per hour. Just a great win and a great job for that team all weekend long.
And this is really the first time Larry Dixon has made a clean pass all the way down the track today. He did it in 4:63. It just wasn't good enough to win. And as Kenny climbs out of the car, there are the points. Larry Dixon, well, he's got 16 rounds left, even at 20 points a round. It's not mathematically clinched because of the records and things that can be added up through qualifying, but it's all but over officially. Let's go to Bill.
It still tastes sweet, doesn't it, Kenny?
It does. It always does. Winning is something that you can't explain. It's the best. But this one's for Brandon. Well, we won. I'm glad he got it. CarQuest, glad to have him aboard. Budweiser, Lucas, certainly our Mac Tool people, thank you so much. But Brandon, this one's you, buddy.
Kenny Bernstein gets career win number 66 at Route 66 Raceway, Dave.
And for Larry Dixon, the championship is now becoming even more of a reality. But for this team, Larry, we know you guys want nothing more than to win races.
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, you know what I was thinking about in that round? Trying to keep Kenny from winning that round. Keep Garlett's number 2 all time in top fuel. Couldn't get it done. Sorry, Gar. You know, we lost the battle of the day, but I think we won the war. So I think there are 16 rounds of racing left, and we got a 16-round lead. So it's going to be pretty tough for him to get around us, and because we're going to show up to these next ones.
Enough said.
And, of course, the reference to Big Daddy Don Garlett's on the all-time win list. As we show some of the celebration, stay with us. We'll wrap things up here from Route 66 Raceway. Stay there.
We knew this team was too good to hold down, and KB, your record at this racetrack speaks for itself. But I want to talk about jumping on your payroll. You promised me if you won, I could be there.
Well, you picked us. I guess I have to, right? I appreciate it so much. Just a great day for the Budweiser guys, and certainly Lucas. Team did a great job as always, and Tim had it right on the button.
That's the good news. The bad news is it's only minimum wage.
Which means 1 can of beer for Dave, and the rest of us get to lick our wounds. That's going to do it for Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone. I'm Marty Reed for our entire ESPN2 crew. RPM Tonight's coming up next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. We'll see you again from Reading and Dallas. So long, everybody.